They thought I couldn't hear them. For 6 months, I lay still, tubes in my throat, machines breathing for me, heart beating like a distant drum. They stood over me, whispered, laughed, planned. My brother and my wife. Together. In my house. Wearing my name, spending my money, waiting for a doctor to sign the order to end my life. But I heard everything. It started with the crash. I remember the rain and the headlights coming fast from the wrong direction. Then, nothing. Just darkness, until I heard Olivia's voice. It sounded like guilt. Soft. Measured. Rehearsed. He wouldn't want to live like this, she said. I felt the sting of those words like a slap across the face. Not because they hurt, but because they didn't sound like grief. They sounded like strategy. I tried to open my eyes. Nothing. Tried to move a finger. Nothing. But I could feel. I could hear. And I could think. And what I thought was, something's wrong. The next voice I recognized was Drew's. My brother. The one I bailed out of every failed venture. The one who swore loyalty over blood. He spoke like he was praying, but he wasn't asking for a miracle. He was waiting for confirmation. Vegas is ready. Once the estate clears, we go full in. I'll run the company. Officially. He was talking to Olivia, my wife. They thought I was a body with no mind. A signature away from a death certificate and a payout. I was the man they needed to die quietly. But the silence I gave them was deliberate. The silence listened. It was the night nurse who changed everything. Her name was Julia. She was new, too old to care about climbing ladders, too honest to ignore the rod in the walls. She read to me sometimes. Weather reports. Get well cards. Most were meaningless. Until she opened one envelope tucked under the others. No return address, smudged ink, written in Drew's hand. I hope you never wake up, it began. I'll never forget the pause in her breath as she read. She's mine now. And so is your company. Olivia never loved you. She loved the power. But I'm giving her what you never could. By the time you hear this, if you ever do, it'll all be over. Julia dropped the letter. I didn't move. Couldn't. But I felt something snap inside me. Rage so hot it burned through every layer of sedation. That night, my fingers twitched. My eyelids fluttered. The silence cracked. And when I finally opened my eyes, truly opened them, Julia was the only one in the room. She gasped. I whispered, "Don't tell anyone I'm awake." Her hand flew to her mouth. "Ethan, not yet. I need time." Her face said what I already knew. I wasn't waking up from a nightmare. I was crawling back into reality, and it was worse. For the next 3 weeks, I pretended. I learned to control my breath. Fake unconsciousness, move only when alone. Julia helped. She shouldn't have. She knew it. But I saw something in her, like she'd been betrayed once too. She didn't ask questions. She brought me updates. Olivia came less and less. Her visits were short, distracted. She took calls in the hallway. Her hand lingered too long on Drew's shoulder when he walked her out. Ava, my daughter, was the only constant. 13 years old. Too smart for her age. Too loyal for her own good. She sat by my bed, told me about school, about how she missed me at dinner, how Uncle Drew helped with math, how Mom cried when no one was looking. She didn't know. And that's what hurt most. They wanted her to forget me. They were trying to replace me. But I wasn't dead. And I never forget betrayal. One night, I asked Julia to make a call. There's a man in my phone under insurance. His real name is Marcus Grant. Ex-detective. Now he's mine. Julia hesitated, but she made the call. Marcus came to the hospital the next night, posing as a family friend. When we were alone, I whispered, "They're planning to kill me." He didn't flinch. "You sure? I need you to find out everything. Money, meetings, signatures, who they talk to, who they trust. I want it all." He nodded. "They won't see me coming." Good. Because I was done being a ghost in my own story. The next morning, Olivia sat beside me, fingers grazing my wrist like a formality. I heard her sigh, heavy and false. "I don't know how much longer I can do this," she said to herself, or maybe to the room. "It's time." He wouldn't want this. No, I didn't want this. I didn't want the woman I loved to become a stranger. I didn't want my brother to be the hand that pushed me into traffic. I didn't want my daughter to be raised by 2 liars. But wanting had nothing to do with it anymore. It was time to build the trap. And when they fell into it, I would be watching. Marcus didn't waste time. Within 48 hours, he had already tapped into my home's security feed and started tracing transactions. Every update he gave me cut a little deeper. "They moved Drew into your guest house 2 weeks after the accident," he said. "Olivia told the staff it was for convenience. Your housekeeper quit over it. Sue. She'd worked for us for years. Quiet, steady, loyal. Her leaving should have been my first sign. But I was in a coma, so they got sloppy. They've been meeting with a group from Vegas," Marcus continued. "Investors. Not the kind you see in magazines. Old money. Quiet. Dangerous. Olivia and Drew are pushing a $40 million casino project using your company's name. I didn't speak. Couldn't. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Drew forged your signature on at least 3 contracts, Marcus added. They even opened a new account in your name. Millions are already in play. And I was supposedly brain dead. The perfect alibi for them. The perfect shield. Olivia scheduled a medical meeting in 5 days, Marcus said. With your doctor. And Drew. They want to finalize end-of-life care. They were going to kill me legally. I nodded once. We let it play out. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You want them to finish the con? I want them all in the same room. I want the signatures. The lies. The transactions. On record. Every word, every move. Then we crush them. He didn't ask questions after that. Over the next few days, I listened more than I breathed. Olivia and Drew visited less frequently, but when they did, they whispered just out of range of the hallway mics. So Marcus planted a device in Olivia's car. We need to get this over with, Drew hissed during a call. The Vegas group's expecting a live meeting with Ethan next week. If they find out he's comatose. Relax, Olivia snapped. The paperwork's almost done. Bernal just needs a little more pressure. Bernal, my physician. Honest man. But Olivia knew how to cry when it mattered. And Drew knew how to lean. They said if there's any sign of doubt, they'll walk, she added. We need the money. They had the money. They just needed me to disappear before someone asked real questions. That same night, Ava visited. My daughter. My reason. She talked about school. Robotics class. How Uncle Drew promised to help her design a prototype for the science fair. How Mom had been tired lately and didn't cook anymore. How the house felt weird. Then she said, quietly, sometimes it feels like no one believes you're coming back. But I do. I always do. When the room was quiet, I opened my eyes. Her gasp hit like lightning. She froze, eyes locked on mine. Dad, I nodded. Are you alive? Aware? And I need you to listen carefully. For the next hour, I explained what I could. Her face shifted from shock to disbelief to something cold and furious. They're trying to kill you, she said, voice shaking. They lied to me. They live in our house. Yes, but you're the only reason I'm still fighting. What do you want me to do? I told her. She didn't hesitate. 2 days later, Drew met with the Vegas group in my office. Marcus streamed it live to me through a secured channel. The 3 investors didn't smile. One, tall and silent, didn't even speak. Just watched. The other 2 signed quickly, coldly. Olivia poured them drinks. Drew talked numbers. They all nodded. Contracts were signed. The money was already transferring. My company was now tied to a high-risk casino build, under false pretenses, using forged documentation. Perfect. Later that night, Olivia and Drew celebrated in my living room. Marcus recorded every word. We did it, Drew said. 2 more days, and Bernal signs the order. You're free. I'm free. Ava will understand. Kids bounce back. Olivia laughed. You make it sound so simple. It is simple, he replied. We won. Ethan's not coming back. And if he does? He's brain damaged. Can't say a word. Even if he remembers anything, it won't matter. But I remembered everything. I had Marcus deliver a message to Dr. Bernal. A private, secure visit. When he entered my room the next day and saw my eyes open, he nearly dropped his clipboard. I need you calm, I said. This is bigger than medicine. He listened. I showed him proof. Audio, video, financial records. A confession in Olivia's handwriting. When I finished, he sat in silence for a long moment, then nodded. What do you want me to do? Wait, I said. You'll be asked to sign a paper. You'll delay it. Tell them it needs board review. That it's protocol. Stall until I give the word. He agreed. Then I made one more call. To who? Marcus asked. Department of Justice. I'm cashing in every favor I have. The storm was coming. They thought I was a shell. A signature. A memory. But I had the truth. And the truth was about to bury them. I woke up in front of them. That was the plan. Not quietly. Not in the shadows. Not whispered to a nurse or slipped through a side door. No, I woke up in the full light of day, in a room filled with medical staff, monitors, and witnesses. Right on schedule. Dr. Bernal gave the signal. Olivia and Drew were already in the hospital, expecting to sign the final order. 30 minutes before the paperwork hit the table, I opened my eyes, coughed once, and asked for water. Chaos followed. Nurses called out vitals. Phones rang. Bernal almost lost his voice explaining what had just happened. He's responding. Fully aware. Neurological function, stable. This is extraordinary. I sat up slowly. Let the machines beep and hum. Let them all think this was some divine twist of fate. But I wasn't a miracle. I was a man with a plan. Olivia arrived first. She rushed in with that same fake concern she'd practiced in front of every doctor, every nurse, every investor. Ethan, oh my God, you're awake. I let her hug me. Let her whisper shaky things about how hard it's been, about how much she missed me. Then I whispered back, we need to talk. Alone. She pulled back slightly. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. She was calculating. Drew came in next, all wide eyes and forced relief. He called me brother, like it still meant something. I smiled at both of them. I'd like to review the company records. All of them. That made Drew pale. Are you sure? I mean, shouldn't you rest first? No, I said. I've been resting for 6 months. It's time to work. Later that evening, Marcus brought me the full package. Legal filings, financial transfers, the Vegas contracts, the forged signatures, every document Olivia and Drew had touched in my name, and the surveillance footage. I watched the moment Drew toasted my legacy with Olivia in my office. I listened to him say, he's not coming back, just hours before I opened my eyes. Then I made one last call. The next morning, the hospital cafeteria was crowded with press. Word of my recovery had spread, and someone had leaked that I would be giving a statement. I didn't deny it. Let them watch. At exactly 10 a.m., I stood with a hand on the podium and looked into the sea of cameras. 6 months ago, I was declared unresponsive after a tragic accident. I began. Today, I want to thank the people who stayed by me, and those who showed me who they really are. I locked eyes with Olivia standing near the back. Drew wasn't there. He was busy finalizing a fake board meeting to confirm himself as acting CEO. Poor timing. I'm officially resuming full control of coal industries, I continued, and I look forward to speaking with the authorities about recent activities conducted under my name. That's when the federal agents walked in, right on cue. They arrested Drew an hour later, in my own office, right in front of the Vegas delegation. Marcus had already sent the feds every file, every recording, every transaction. It was all linked. Forgery, fraud, conspiracy, even misuse of interstate funds. Olivia was next. They caught her in the parking lot. She didn't cry this time, didn't scream. She just froze as they read the charges. Insurance fraud, attempted murder, wire fraud, racketeering. She looked straight at me as they cuffed her. I loved you, she whispered. No, I replied. You loved what I gave you. Ava was waiting for me when I returned to the hospital. She didn't say anything. She just nodded once. It's over, I told her. They won't hurt us again. Good, she said. Because I never want to see either of them again. You won't have to. We sat in silence after that. A different kind of silence than the one that held me hostage in that bed for half a year. This one didn't listen. This one healed. But I wasn't done. The Vegas investors were still a problem. They'd wired millions based on fake promises. And they didn't care about excuses. So I met them myself. We sat down at a neutral location, glass walls, open space, plenty of witnesses. I brought Marcus and my attorney. They brought a man who didn't speak for 20 minutes. When he finally did, he leaned forward and said, You owe us. No, I said. Your deal was with Drew. He forged my name. That makes you a victim. Same as me. They didn't like that. But I wasn't here to make friends. I was here to draw a line. You can take legal action, I told them. Or we can settle this quietly. I return what I can. You walk away. But if you try to pressure my company again, I'll bring every federal agency into this deal until there's nothing left of it but courtrooms and subpoenas. They didn't shake my hand. But they left. Sometimes that's the best deal you get. Drew tried to cut a deal. Offered cooperation. Said he'd testify. It didn't matter. Olivia refused to speak. Her silence in court was louder than any confession. In the end, they got what they earned. Drew, 30 years. No parole for the first 20. Olivia, life. No eligibility for appeal. The insurance fraud, the conspiracy, the attempt to terminate life support with motive. It was all too much. The judge said it best. There's betrayal, and then there's calculated destruction. What you did was the latter. I didn't attend the sentencing. I was busy rebuilding. I visited Olivia once. Not because I needed closure, and not because I wanted to hear anything from her. I went because Ava deserved to see that silence sometimes speaks louder than regret. It was cold, the way she looked at me through the glass. No emotion, no fear, no apology. Just calculation, still ticking behind her eyes. Even now, even after everything had crumbled. I thought maybe, she started, but didn't finish. You thought wrong, I said. She pressed her hands to the glass like that would soften what she'd done. Tell Ava I'm sorry. No, I said. You can tell her yourself, if she ever chooses to visit. But don't expect her to. I stood to leave. Ethan, she called, as the guard opened the door. Was it all fake to you too? I didn't answer. Some things don't deserve a response. Drew was worse. He'd been attacked twice in holding. Some broken ribs. A split lip. Word had gotten around. About Vegas. About the money. About who he crossed. Even inside, consequences find you. He rolled into the room in a wheelchair. Ethan, he started. I never wanted it to go this far. You tried to erase me, I said. Don't insult both of us by pretending you didn't. He held his hands up like surrender still meant something. I panicked. Olivia, she pushed things. She wanted. You followed. He lowered his gaze. I was jealous, all right. You had everything. The company. The house. The family. I got tired of being the mistake. I wanted what you had. So you stole it. I made bad choices. You made final choices, I snapped. And now you live with them. He stared at the wall. I leaned closer. Vegas won't forget. Your sentence is just the beginning. He knew. I saw it in his eyes. He wasn't scared of prison. He was scared of what might come after. I left him with that fear. Ava never asked to visit them. I offered once. She shook her head. They buried you, she said. I don't talk to people who dig graves for the living. She never brought it up again. Instead, she brought plans. Architectural drawings. Business ideas. New visions for the company. The same focus in her eyes I'd once seen in the mirror. One afternoon, she handed me a folder. What's this? Ava Cole Development, she said. Your name's on it. A silent partner. I flipped through. Real projects. Market forecasts. Solid numbers. A firm built on logic, not dreams. You're 13. 14 next month. I looked at her. What happens when people underestimate you? She smiled. They won't do it twice. I restructured the company. Quietly. Every contract Drew had touched was reevaluated. Every partner vetted again. I brought back Sue, the housekeeper who walked away when she saw the lies. Promoted her to operations. No one ever questioned it. I didn't give speeches. I didn't hold press conferences. I let the work speak for itself. The media chased me for months. They wanted the inside scoop, the man who woke up to expose a crime ring. But I wasn't interested in headlines. I was interested in building something no one could steal again. The hardest part wasn't forgiving them. It was forgiving myself. For not seeing it sooner. For trusting the wrong people. For leaving Ava exposed while I chased expansion and awards. That guilt doesn't go away. But I learned to carry it without letting it weigh her down. One night, she sat across from me, reviewing a project. She looked up and asked, "Are you happy?" I didn't answer right away. "I'm alive," I said. "I'm building. And I have you. That's enough." She nodded like she understood more than a teenager should. But she always did. I built a new headquarters. Not the biggest, not the flashiest, but ours. Ava's name was etched into the cornerstone. One afternoon, as I walked through the nearly finished atrium, Marcus caught up with me. "Just got off the phone," he said. "Vegas is officially out. Their money's tied up in indictments. They're done." "Good. There's rumors. You want me to handle them?" "No," I said. "Let them talk. The more they remember my name, the less likely they are to cross it again." He gave me a long look. "You did it, Ethan. You buried them." I shook my head. "No," I said. "They buried themselves. I just made sure no one else had to dig." On the day of the ribbon cutting, I stood beside Ava. She held the scissors. I held nothing. She didn't need me to lead. Just to stand there. To watch her take the stage I built, but that now belonged to her. She cut the ribbon. Cameras flashed. The crowd cheered. And I thought about the man I used to be. The man who believed loyalty was forever. That man's gone. And that's okay. Because the one who replaced him? He knows better. People think revenge ends with punishment. That once the handcuffs click and the court hands down a sentence, the weight lifts and everything resets. It doesn't. What comes after isn't peace. It's quiet. And sometimes, quiet is worse. For weeks after the trials, I kept waking up at 3 a.m., half expecting to be back in that bed, still paralyzed, still listening. My body moved fine, but my mind kept asking if I missed anything. If someone else was waiting to strike. That paranoia doesn't vanish with a judge's gavel. It fades in layers. Slowly. Sometimes never completely. Ava handled it better than I did. She returned to school like nothing had happened. Kept her grades up. Kept building. Her way of coping was progress. Movement. Plans. Mine was surveillance. I still had Marcus check our systems weekly. Still ran background checks on new hires. Still reread every major contract 3 times. People called me careful. They didn't know it was fear in disguise. One afternoon, Ava caught me pacing near the front office. "You think they're coming back?" she asked. "No," I said. "But thinking they might is what kept me alive." She didn't argue. She just looked at me and said, "Maybe it's time we start living instead of just surviving." She was right. But knowing that didn't make it easy. I was invited to speak at a leadership conference 6 months later. They wanted me to talk about resilience. Comeback stories. How to rebuild after devastation. I declined. I had nothing to prove. Not anymore. Instead, I asked them to consider someone else. I sent Ava. She stood on stage, 13 minutes, no notes. She talked about betrayal, truth, and what it means to lose people you love, not to death, but to decisions. She didn't cry. She didn't accuse. She just told the truth. And when she stepped off that stage, strangers stood to clap for her. Not because she was my daughter, but because she earned it. That day, I realized she'd already built something stronger than I ever had. She built herself. Drew died in prison. No one said how. But I knew. Vegas doesn't forget. They wait. Months. Years. Then they settle scores. Quietly. I didn't mourn him. I mourned the version of him that never existed. The brother I thought I had. The one I kept trying to save long after he stopped trying to save himself. Olivia is still alive. She'll never get out. I haven't heard from her since sentencing. Part of me expected a letter. An apology. A lie dressed as truth. But none came. And maybe that was her final answer. Years passed. I stopped measuring success in numbers. Started measuring it in trust. In watching Ava lead meetings with people twice her age and walk away with their respect. In hearing employees laugh again, without the weight of secrets. I sold the house. The one where it all happened. Too many memories clung to the walls. Too many shadows. We moved into something smaller. Simpler. Ava chose it. She said it felt honest. And maybe that's what we both needed. Something that wasn't tied to a lie. I didn't argue. I just followed her lead. One night, she came home late from the office. Dropped her bag, opened her laptop, and sat across from me at the kitchen table. Do you ever think about them? She asked. I didn't have to ask who she meant. Not anymore, I said. I remember what they did. But they don't get to live rent-free in my head. She nodded slowly. Sometimes I miss who I thought they were. That's fair, I said. I miss that too. She closed her laptop. I'm not angry anymore. That means you're stronger than I was, I said. She smiled. Not out of pride, but relief. Maybe that was the real victory. Not surviving them, but surviving who we became because of them. People still ask me how I made it through. The coma, the betrayal, the legal mess, the aftermath. The answer is simple. I didn't do it alone. I had a daughter who never stopped believing I'd wake up. A nurse who read one letter that changed everything. A friend who showed up without needing permission. And a part of myself that refused to die even when everyone else gave up. That's what remained. Not the pain. Not the loss. Just that one truth. You only lose everything when you stop fighting. And I never did.